Hello, everyone. So I didn't know if you guys knew that every picture book that I read on my Northern Kids bedtime stories series, I actually read the book ahead of time just to make sure that it's a good fit. And to see what the book is like and make sure it's like a good length and kind of talk about the book and whatnot. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a monthly reading log and show you all the picture books I've read this month and so far. And then I thought I'd do a little bit of a haul um, for some new books that I got on Whatnot to read for our series. I started the series because I had a family friend that grew up in foster care, a friend of my mother's, and they didn't always have somebody to read them a bedtime story at night. And I wanted to be able to give that to people. So to provide that, I wanted to change that. I can't change everything about the world, but I knew I could add to my YouTube a series where I read bedtime stories, and maybe a kid that doesn't have somebody to read them a bedtime story, whether because they're in foster care, their parents are working, they've lost a parent, or whatever reason, they have somebody that is reading a bedtime story just to them. And I take a lot of pride in this series. I carefully pick out the books. So I'm going to go through the books I've read. Some of these will appear in the upcoming series. So I'm excited. I'll start with some of the ones I already owned that I read. Some of them took me a while to read, like this one. This is a Curious George 5-minute story book. There is a bunch of picture books included in this. This one, maybe one where we read every other week or something. I've got to figure that out because there's just so many stories in it. But I absolutely love this. This had me so entertained. And it did bring me back to my childhood a little because I remember watching Curious George on TV. I loved Curious George. I was a curious kid. I was always getting into little messes. And I love how at the end of the day, everything turns out good for Curious George. I don't know. It was such a fun book, and the illustrations are like so cute, like George playing baseball here. You went to a ball game. I remember moments like that were really special with my family. This is George and some bunnies. And so there are, like I said, a bunch of different stories. We have George visits the library, George marches in the parade, Curious George goes fishing, Curious George says thank you, Curious George at the baseball game, Curious George and the bunny, Curious George saves his pennies, Curious George at the aquarium, Curious George blasts off, Curious George goes to the zoo, Curious George and the ice cream surprise, Curious George and the surprise party, Curious George learns to count from 1 to 50, and whatnot. And so this book has like some different things that may help kids learn, like counting from 1 to 50, or it teaches kids skills like budgeting, saving their pennies, and also like kindness. And it also can introduce them to like new ideas, like the idea of going to an aquarium, going to a zoo before you bring a kid, and get them kind of familiar with what is at the zoo, what is at the library, what they might expect beforehand. Because I know for me, being an autistic child, change was very difficult for me. So I love this one. I would highly recommend. Then we have, I'm going to try to move some of the newer ones to the side. Oh, these are all newer. I know we have some older ones too, so let's just take a moment before I start on the new books that I picked up in the haul. Okay, so then these are two of the books I read, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Now, I used to rescue guinea pigs. I love pet rodents. I've always wanted a pet mouse or a pet rat, but my mother's scared of them. So, alas, I probably won't have one because she wouldn't visit my house. I settled on guinea pigs, and I loved my guinea pigs. But I collect mice books. I love mice books. I have like one of the chapter books I have that's mouse book is like the Tale of Desperado. I had like the Redwall books, if anyone remembers those. I like mouse themed book. And If You Give a Mouse a Cookie is a classic. I don't think I have to like go too into it. It's just cute. The illustrations are cute. And it's just it's fun. It's a fun book. I would recommend it. I think it's a classic. I read it as a child. I'm sure my brothers read it as a child. You know, you start out giving the mouse one thing, which leads to another, which then leads to another until it leads all the way back to the start of the book. And I love it. So I was yeah, I didn't realize that I had that one until I was going through reorganizing picture books to figure out kind of what ones I might want to read next and reading through some of them. So this one is a Disney My First Winnie the Pooh and More Growing Up Stories. Now, currently on my shelf, one of the chapter books I'm reading is the first Winnie the Pooh book, like a Winnie the Pooh chapter book, and I absolutely love it. I've been enjoying the different chapters and like short stories. And it's been a while since I've gotten to read like my chapter books again. Like I've been reading Annie of Green Gables as well, but like that's besides the point. So this is I've always loved Winnie the Pooh. I'm a huge Disney fan. This one has beautiful in illustrations and beautiful stories. Some of the stories you're going to read are Tigger's Moving Day, Rue's New Babysitter, Pooh Helps Out, Pooh's Scrapbook, and Pooh Welcomes Winter and Be Patient, Pooh. And then there's a beautiful introduction. So like Tigger's Moving Day is nice, and one of the reasons I like Tigger's Moving Day is because it introduces the child to the idea of moving, how you go from one house to another, how new house may feel different, but at the end of the day, once you get your things in there, it turns out all right, and that your friends and family might be there, and you know, it's a fun one. I really liked it because like I didn't move around a lot as a child. And then when my parents split up when I was older, we went and moved into an apartment, and that was really scary. So a story of like this may have helped me feel better. And the apartment we moved to was like in like really close by my childhood home, and my parents kept my childhood home. My dad just lived there for a short time, and then he moved out, and my mom moved back in. But it was still like new to me, living in a new house or a new apartment, I should say. And so this is like a really good kind of first introduction to that. Then in Rue's New Babysitter, Pooh babysits Rue, and it introduces the idea of, you know, a child's maybe, you know, not wanting to be babysat, being anxious about changes in their routine, and Pooh really listening and kind of being patient and understanding and listening to Rue to form a connection to where they end up having a good time. Then, of course, Pooh learns about Winter. He thinks Winter is a person when Christopher Robin says Winter is coming, but Winter is not. Winter is a time of the year, like a season, but Pooh gets the wrong idea, so Pooh wants to throw a surprise welcome party for Winter. They end up having the party anyways. It ends up being good. Christopher Robin ends up explaining what winter is to Pooh, and they do a lot of fun winter activities. Um, Be Patient Pooh was a good one. I always say like being patient is hard for me. So Pooh is having a birthday party. He's got to kind of figure out like how to pass the time until that comes, and that can be hard. And then of course, in the I feel like I missed one. And Pooh's scrapbook, which is like right after, which is earlier in the book. Pooh creates like a memory book with his friends because it's a rainy day and they don't really know what to do, and that's what they end up doing, and I really like it. And then in Pooh Helps Out, um, Pooh ends up being bored and he ends up going to Piglet's. He ends up helping Piglet out with some chores, and then they sit and they're sitting doing nothing and they're bored, and so they end up helping another friend and so on, and it ends up being a nice day. And I think the concept of having children learn to help out is nice, teaching them to do good deeds, teaching them how to get through boredom on their own without having to ask somebody what to do. Now, the rest of these books are the books I got from the Whatnot haul, and I read them all. Now, these ones I knew right away I wanted to get this one because I collect mice books, and I'd read it as a kid. It's The Town Mouse and Country Mouse by Jan Brett, and I love Jan Brett's books. Not even the stories are good, but not even just for the stories, but the illustrations to me are like beautiful and whimsical and magical and very like naturey, and just I don't know, they feel very like fairy tale. They're just different from a lot of books I read, and I find that illustrations are actually really important in a kid's book, in keeping kids interested. Certain kids might like certain illustrators really well, and seeing the pictures gets them really into the story. I've been looking lately for some of the books that made me fall in love with reading when I was younger, especially because with my brain injury and my memory struggles focusing, I kind of found it hard to read as much lately. I had to relearn how to read after my brain injury. And I found that I wasn't reading as much this past year and the year before. And sometimes it's nice to take a step back. You can enjoy picture books as an adult. But I started reading some of the tales that, like I said, they made me fall in love with reading, and then I was reading more this month than usual. Like the Anne of Green Gables books, the Winnie the Pooh one that I found. But the illustrations are just beautiful. Jan Brett, the Town Mouse and Country Mouse, was one of those books as a kid that made me fall in love with reading. This and Franklin and like the Bernstein Bears. I loved the Bernstein Bears. I have another Jan Brett book because like I said, I love her illustrations. This one is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And the lady I bought the books from on Whatnot, she was so, so nice and sweet, and just she gave me I got a good deal on a lot of the books. I bought them last month. They are just beautiful books. I love that, like, the borders, especially. Like, there's just so much attention to detail with these books. I mean, look at Goldilocks. She's so pretty. They give that fairy tale vibe that I love. Um, I love Jan Brett's books. So, of course, when I saw those on Whatnot, I got them. And I do gift these books to kids after I finish reading them. Um, like, I gift some of them to, like, my nephew, and whatnot, as well as other, people I know. And some of them I keep in my personal book collection because I read a lot of picture books. Especially after, like I said, I've been searching for the books that made me fall in love with reading. Um, Especially since I've been having difficulty with that lately. And books with, like, some of the characters that made me fall in love with reading. So I find illustrations are important in a book because sometimes kids are just drawn to certain illustrators. I babysit a lot, so I always keep some books here that will interest the kids I babysit. And I find some kids prefer certain illustrators over others. It's just something I've noticed. So I do think illustration style is important. The cover is important. Um, a lot of things are important when it comes to kids' books. And I hate if you get a kid's book and, like, the dust jacket comes off and the book is plain. I'm not even a big fan of dust jackets in general, which may sound strange, but the reason why is they just get ruined. I end up taking them off anyways. If it Depending on the child, they get ruined. Um, and I don't have as big an issue as that. Like, mine aren't gonna get ruined. If I give them to a kid, you know, like, a lot of the kids I babysit take good care of them, but, like, I don't know. I just don't like that they can get ruined so easily. But here are some of the other books I got. I'll go over. I got 2 new Winnie the Pooh books. I love Winnie the Pooh picture books. This one is a Golden Books one. Absolutely cute. It starts out where everyone's bored, so they're all trying to think of fun things to do and suggest things, and then they start arguing about it. What is the best thing they can do until Piglet suggests a picnic, which they all agree is lots of fun, and they all get to do some of the things they like, and it ends up being a good compromise. This is great for learning how to compromise. It's cute. I was excited to see it on What's Not. I mean, I was loving What's Not. I think these ones I got from What's Not. I might have got these two from a thrift store. I know the rest I got from What's Not. But then this one was Pooh's Grand Adventure: The Search for Christopher Robin. And I saw this and I knew I wanted it immediately because Winnie the Pooh and Disney, and need I say more? But also, I love Winnie the Pooh illustrations. They always are adorable. They, like, really just bring you into the world of the characters. The colors are soft. So anyways, Pooh finds a note from Christopher Robin, which Owl struggles to read, which I've come to realize as I've been reading the book. I don't know that I noticed it as a child. I know Owl, like, in the cartoons, was always, like, the really smart one, the wise old owl. And he ends up thinking the note is, like, Christopher Robin went to what was it, like, Skull? He had to, like, find one of his friends that could read, and it ended up being Owl. He ended up thinking SCHOOL spelled skull, which was a place. and Hal says he's gone to school, and they go search for Christopher Robin, and it's a cute little adventure. Before Pooh finds a note, Christopher Robin asked him what, suppose tomorrow came and we weren't together, and Pooh had asked him, what does not together mean? And it means I may not always be with you. It means I will always be with you, but that I might not always be here. And then he said, I'm glad it's tomorrow, so I don't have to think about it today, which is cute of Pooh. And then Christopher Robin, at the end, spends time with Pooh after school. It's such a cute book. Very fun adventure. This book is How the Crayon Saved the Earth. I like the illustrations. They look like a kid drew them, which is so cool. And it really shows kids that when you work together, even if you can't maybe change the whole world, you can change, part of your world. And I love that message in the story. So, I liked this one a lot. This was one I don't know, it's a good one. And I know somebody whose birthday is coming up that once I read a lot of these on my channel, I plan to give it to them, so I'm excited. I plan to give them the books from my book haul. Like I said, after I read them on the channel. We'll read them on the channel first. We got time. But this is a Max and Ruby book. I don't know if you remember Max and Ruby on TV. It was like a little small cartoon. Well, this is one of the books, and it says bunny cakes. They're each making like a cake for their grandma, and they each have like different ideas of the cake they want. Max can't write. Ruby keeps sending him to the store for stuff for her cake to get him out of her baking space because he ends up, causing mischief. And finally, he gets the idea to draw a picture of what he wants, and the grocer understands right away. Definitely a good problem-solving story. It's just cute. I think it's cute. I like Max and Ruby, so I like that. Then I got this small Pooh and Friends ABC book that I thought was really cute. It's a Winnie the Pooh one. I think my nephew will enjoy it. I think it's a good book to read on your own for the first time. I don't know. I liked it. I was like, why not? Why not just add it to the bunch? And I'm like a huge Winnie the Pooh fan, so and we got birthdays coming up. A lot of summer birthdays. I got a bunch of Thomas the Train books. I got 4. I love Thomas the Train. This one I read, and we will probably read it on the channel. I love trains. I love Thomas. I love the cartoon. However, out of all the Thomas the Train books that I read out of this bunch, this one, I don't know, it wasn't quite, it had like a different feel to it than like these ones did. And I liked these ones a little more than I liked this one. We'll still read it. But, it's still a good book. We'll still read it, but I don't know. And I don't know, I might have been tired when I read it. I think I just like the simplicity of the stories in these ones better. I like that this one, Thomas is going over a big bridge for the first time. Some of the other trains are scared, so he thinks maybe he should be. And then he is scared when he's halfway through because it's a windy bridge. And he closes his eyes and he goes a little off the track, so he has to be pulled back on the tracks by a helicopter. And then he realized he has to go across with his eyes open. Once he's looking around, he realized it's a great view and there was no reason to be scared after all. So, very good book. This one tells the day of Thomas the Blue Train, and then one of the green trains. I'm trying to remember what the green train's name was. But I love the pictures in it. Percy is the green train. But I mean, look at those pictures. Just lovely. And I like books that I try to find toys or clothes that go along books when I give them to somebody. And I have somebody I plan to give these books to, these Thomas ones. And I plan to get one of the Thomas train sets for their birthday and then put it with the books. I'm actually super excited about that, so I really like this one. In this one, Thomas is excited. The conductor tells him he can bring back a load of children if he gets back on time. Otherwise, the bus will bring them, and Thomas does everything he has to do. He has to stop to help a friend. He's trying to decide whether to hurry or stop and help a friend because he's right on time. But he sees this bus that has like broken down, Birdie the bus, and it's like help or hurry. Do I help my friend? Do I hurry? Because I can only bring the kids back if I get back on time. And Thomas really wants to do that. And he ends up deciding to help his friend Birdie the bus. And it ends up actually being the children that Birdie was taking home. So the children get to ride on Thomas after all. And Thomas is very excited. He saved the day. I really like that one. And these were published under like, I think it's got like the beginner books with like Dr. Seuss. So I like that. They're not written by Dr. Seuss, but those two are published under that. So yeah, but this one's like a Thomas one as well. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna move on because like I said, only got so many books and so much time. But this one was Thomas and the Magic Railroad. And it was Diesel 10 Means Trouble. I think it was that they added magic into this book, and I didn't feel like it really jived with like what I expected out of Thomas the Train. And maybe that's why it didn't like the story didn't appeal to me as much, but it was still good. I still think kids would like it. It wasn't like up my alley per se. Then I got this Toy Story 4 book, and Toy Story 5 is coming out. So I was super excited about this. I want to make a day of watching the 4 movies, maybe going to see Toy Story 5. And I thought the book would be nice to add to that. I love the Toy Story movies because I love toy collecting. I love finding thrifted toys. I love the idea of saving toys that have been kind of left and used. And I don't know, the fact that the toys come to life in Toy Story just really appeals to me. This is Forky and Craft Buddy Day. Forky is a toy that Bonnie made, and all the kids in Bonnie's class get to make their own toy like Forky, since Bonnie did such a good job making Forky. Bonnie brings Forky to school with her every day, and Forky gets lonely. But when all the toys come to life, they don't realize that they're not what they used to be, and so they're panicked. This is when all the kids leave the room, and Forky ends up getting them to see that, like, yeah, they don't serve their old purpose anymore, but like think about the kids you're making happy, and all of that. And by the time Bonnie and the kids come back to the room, each toy has a smile on their face, and all the craft buddies are lying quietly in the same spots. It was a fun story. The illustrations are cute. Is what I would expect out of a Disney story. So yeah, I like it a lot. And it kind of gives the idea of recycling and crafting, and I like crafting. I think that's always a fun thing to do. So then I got 2 books that are the Bernstein Bears. I have the Bernstein Bears on the Moon. This, is, I think, one of the earlier Bernstein Bears stories, perhaps. It's not like... It's good. I remember having this when I was younger. My cousin had given me a bunch of the Bernstein Bears book. Then when she had her daughter, she wanted them back. And I was like, my childhood Bernstein books, but I gave them back because they were hers originally. But I loved the Bernstein Bears. They definitely helped me fall in love with reading, and I wanted to collect some of the books. This one was published by the Beginner Books. It's got the Dr. Seuss logo. It is by Stan and Jan Bernstein, as all the Bernstein books are. But Brother and Sister Bear go to the moon. They jump around. They leave a flag. It's just really cute. And I like space. I think you could read this for reading if you're homeschooling, and then this would be like your reading book. Maybe you could write a story about what you picture it would be like to go to the moon. And then maybe you could read some books about the moon as part of like science, and like make a whole space themed day. With a little space themed picture book. Like, this one would more be for definitely like reading, not so much science, but I think it'd be fun to add to like a homeschool routine, and note that you read the book. Maybe have your kid do a little book report on it. And then this one is part of the Bernstein Bears Cub Club, which I don't even remember. It is a golden book, and I just love this. And the Bernstein Bears introduce their home, and they talk about the different rooms in it. So I really like it. I think it's cute. I love the pictures of the bears. And I also think this must have been another one of the earlier Bernstein Bears books, because I definitely like how the Bernstein Bears series definitely evolved over time. And you can tell if you've collected a lot of their books. And like some of them are by different publishing companies. But it's definitely interesting to see the way the author evolved the characters. I also remember watching the Bernstein Bears cartoon on TV. They had a cartoon. So I think you can still get it on like the VHS from the library. I'm not sure. They used to have it at my local library, and I used to check out the DVDs. I don't know if they still do anymore. I don't know where you would watch the series now, but I remember enjoying it. And that is all for today. That is all the picture books I've read so far this month and last month. And those are, I think, half of the Whatnot haul that I got, maybe close to all of it. There's a few that I haven't read yet, so they're not included. But I thought I'd show you part of my Whatnot haul to get you ready for like some of the books that might be coming up in our series of, books that we're reading aloud. Sometimes I like to just read one book. Other times I like to read a couple books together, depending on the length of the book. That's another reason I read them ahead of time. So yeah, I'm excited to read some of those potentially coming up on the channel. And I will see you all another day. Bye, everyone. Keep reading.